Is that come from fear?
I think it comes from a combination of disappointment, and if she were on the ticket,
oh, come on, this is politics. There's not disappointment.
There's disappointment. I think that Nicole Wallace is heartbroken right now. But I really do think that when you look at the numbers, when you look at the fact that so many disaffected Republicans, Nikki Haley voters said that they would not vote for Trump under any scenario. Getting those people back into the fold, I think, is essential in an election where getting your side to turn out is going to be the difference between winning and losing. When so many people already know how they're going to vote, everyone knows who Joe Biden and Donald Trump is. There is not a lot of new ground to have here. There are not a lot of independents. There aren't a lot of people who don't know how they're going to vote. Getting your side to show up is the most important thing. Nikki Haley coming into the fold is going to be the biggest opportunity Trump has to make sure that everyone in the Republican Party shows up and votes for him.
All right. And so many have made, Scott, a big deal of the 20% that Nikki Haley pulled away from Donald Trump. Over the past few Democratic primaries, because there were, we saw somewhere between 15 and 20% get peeled away from Joe Biden by literally nobody. So you can't beat somebody with nobody, but nobody was doing pretty well. How important is it for the Republicans to deny Joe Biden the ability to get that 20% of Nikki Haley voters?
Normally, I'd say it's not that big of a deal, but this election's looking like it's going to be decided by tens of thousands of votes in 3 or 4 states, so every little bit happens. To your point, the 20% that Nikki Haley shaved off is not necessarily out of the norm, and polling shows that 20%, Donald Trump certainly wasn't their first choice, but they don't like Joe Biden either, and so they may decide not to show up, or if they do show up, they're voting for Donald Trump. And so to your point, it's a motivation thing, especially when this could be decided by 10 to 20,000 votes in a state like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin.
See, he agreed with me.
Yeah. It's Friday.
Happens.
It's Friday. It's Friday ahead of a holiday weekend.
Every once in a while, you make a premier point.
Oh, wow.
I'm curious because there is this discussion about whether or not there's any effort by Donald Trump to go after Nikki Haley voters. You seem to have Democrats, both Joe Biden, where he is turning up the snark meter on Donald Trump and taking away the I'm not a mean tweeter argument. And then you've got Kathy Hochul, Democratic governor of New York, seeming to double down or triple down on deplorables. Take a listen.
For Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx, New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for president.
As he was rallying in the Bronx, if Democrats want to be the adults in the room, is the name calling smart?
I think that, again, we're talking about how important it is to motivate your side. The left wants that version of Joe Biden. They want dark Brandon and all of that, Joe Biden with the aviators on. They want some of that snark. They want to see their guy get into the ring and throw some punches. They get very upset when they feel like he's not being aggressive enough, that he's not kind of fighting fire with fire. And so if you want to get that base motivated, because they really aren't right now, let's be honest about that, showing that side of him, I think, is going to be essential for Biden.
All right, so we just got this ruling Friday before Memorial Day, Scott, that a lot of the Hunter Biden evidence, the laptop, his emails, all the pictures of him engaged in unsavory activity are going to be part of his trial in June. You're also going to have the end of the Trump trial. Is any of those things making a difference in the polls as they're coming out?
No. I mean, look, it's basically my job to follow this stuff. I don't want to follow it anymore. And I think that is basically what polling shows the average American is. They know something's going on. They probably think something bad happened. But after that, they don't care. It is going to, as Court pointed out, he's right twice today, it is going to rile up both sides' base in terms of the Republicans saying, hey, we got to go after this.
I'm going to see if you guys are going to agree
this.
with me when I end this segment by saying the thing that's going to rile people up the most, and they're going to be talking about the most this weekend, is the cost of everything that they're grilling.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Grilling, babysitting, all of it.
Gas prices.
There you go. Gentlemen, good to see both of you. Thank you.